we met actually in secondary school, a long way back, and we kind of went our separate ways, and then somehow came to meet up again in London.
It was a year after our marriage, then we planned having children, isn't it? I had a blood test. At the time, it was in Newham Hospital. We had a blood test, and I was told that I was a carrier, so my husband had to come in to have a test as well. And I was hoping that he wasn't going to be, but he was. And we didn't know anything about sickle cell at the time. When we were told after the test, when the child was born, after the blood test, the nurse came over to the house and told me that my child have got sickle cell. I was very upset. I didn't know a lot about, I didn't have any knowledge about sickle cell at the time. So I thought that if my child was going to be a sickle cell sufferer, that means that child is going to die at a certain age. With that, I tried to cover up, not to tell anybody, any of my family, my side of family, because I didn't want anyone to know that she had sickle cell. So I was trying to cover up, and when she's ill, a few family members will know that she is suffering from sickle cell. And because of the comment from other people that I was hearing, and also the I find it very hard talking about sickle cell. Sometimes I do find it very hard. Yeah. And
But can I come in? I took a completely different view. I felt I should tell everybody. I did. And I made sure that wherever I took the baby, they got to know that she was a sickle cell child, and that if she was manifesting or crying, they should give her the right attention and not to ignore, because she might be in pain. And so as much as I felt it was difficult for me initially to accept the fact that she was that she was a sickle cell child, I was determined that she should get the best help possible. And so I did this. In fact, I told everybody. I did not. I felt that was the right thing to do. So we would not compound what was a bad situation any worse than it already was. Yeah.
But I guess mine was different, because I guess I get very sensitive, because Oliver has to work and I have to stay at home with Pamela. So when Pamela was in pain, sometimes it's just me. And then I would sometimes call him and say, no, I can't cope, and I'll be crying and crying and crying. Pamela will be crying and I'll be crying as well.
There was a bit of a shame factor for me that I had grown to be a big man, and I didn't know something that pertained to me which had serious implications, and I was quite oblivious of its implications. So that was a bit of a embarrassment to my own self, because I thought it is something I should have known, and I didn't know. So there was a shock. But I also had guilt at the same time as well. Guilt that I have done something like this to a child I loved. And that was, it was almost like a double jeopardy in one sense. And it was very difficult for me. The fact that I had had blood tests before, but nobody had actually told me whether or not I was a carrier. I never knew.
Oliver mentioned guilt. I think at one point, Pamela was asking, why did we marry? And why it was as if that she was the one suffering out of the marriage. And I was guilty at the time. I felt so guilty. And we have to, I sat her down and explained to her that we didn't even know that we were carriers. And I know many parents will be feeling the same way. But I guess there should be communication as well between the parents and the child who is suffering.
When the baby came, we were already married. And so there was a commitment there. And so there wasn't actually a going back, because you've got a child who's a sickle-cell, so you abandon commitment. And so there was commitment there, so there wasn't actually a going back. But if I knew from the outset, I don't think I would have been in that position to have really continued. That's what I think. I don't think there would have been a marriage.
I do disagree with Oliver, what he said, that even knowing that we both were carriers, or we are still carriers, we went ahead and we had three more after Pamela. And I think knowing that you have sickle cell doesn't mean that you can't fall in love with someone who is a carrier or has got sickle cell.
We're happy to say that apart from Pamela, who has got the full-blown sickle cell, we've got one who has got a carrier, is a carrier, and the rest actually are free of it.
And looking at Pamela, she's so strong, and you can't even tell that she has sickle cell. And she's doing very well at school now. And she's studying and wants to do medicine. And I think that with what I heard and what the perception of others about sickle cell and what I know now is different, because people with sickle cell can grow to a mature age, that whatever they want to do or whatever they want to become, they can achieve it.
I would say that it's the responsibility of men, or of the man as well as the woman, that we get screened, because it takes the man and the woman to create a baby. And so it is of the utmost importance that as men we see it as a duty. I think it's a duty. It's not something we should do casually. It's important that we get screened, because the implications of not doing it for ourselves, but also for the child, is something so serious you might never forgive yourself for not doing it.